-2? Okay. Hello, and welcome to the Catholic Answers Live
Super Show.
I'm Cy Kellett, your host. With me, Edgar Lueno, assistant to the host.
Assistant host.
And we got a big thing today. We're going to, first of all, the next 3 days, we got to pay the bills. So we'll be doing that live on Catholic Answers Live. But we'll do the regular Super Show today. We'll have an extra episode of Super Show tomorrow. And then Thursday, we'll go back to regular Thursday Super Show. Super Show is permanent. You can't get out of it. We've started it now. We're never going to stop it. Matter of fact, it's just going to grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I got something, I have to say, this one kind of hit me personally that I wanted to kind of dive into at the beginning. And I think it hit me personally because I got married 30 years ago, June.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. And it stuck. It's the same marriage I'm in now. It's not like I got married then and but that's the one I'm still in. And as a matter of fact, my wife used to hate it. In the first few years of our marriage, I would introduce her as Missy, my first wife, and she was like, "That's not funny. Don't do that." And then, and it's not funny. I shouldn't have done it. I apologize, Missy. Okay, so when we got married, on the day that we got married, my wife was not baptized. So, and had no plans to get baptized. And so she was raised in a non-religious family, completely non-religious family. So when I saw this J.D. Vance stuff, I was like, dude, been there, done that. And I'm sure glad I didn't have the whole world commenting on me at the time. And if there's any criticism to be made of J.D. Vance in this, first of all, I would like to say that by the end of this, the only person that I'm not going to be mad at is a Hindu pastor here in San Diego. I'm going to be mad at everybody.
Including J.D. Vance?
No, not J.D. Vance. Okay, I don't feel mad at J.D. Vance. I think because I completely identify with him in this scenario. Although his wife wasn't, she at least had, is at least the right way to say it? She had a religious background of some kind, you know. I think she was raised Hindu. When I say I think, I know she was raised Hindu, but I don't know how devout her home was. But at least there's something. My wife had a really anti-religious upbringing. And
so not even agnostic, it was just anti-religious.
It was, I would say no God, you know. She was raised to believe in no God. So at least I think that would be how you would describe it. I don't know. I might have it. I mean, atheism always seems to me like a system of thought, and I don't think it was like a system of thought that she was being. It was just a presumption that her family had. So, I take this all very personally. What's happening with J.D. Vance? Take it all very, very personally because I think something similar happened to me that happened to J.D. Vance too. And I don't, what bothers me in all this is J.D. Vance and I feel like we're so simpatico on this, and I have no power or fame. What happened? He became vice president of the United States. Like, we have the same experience.
So set it up for us. What exactly happened with J.D. Vance?
Okay, so J.D. Vance said he hopes his wife becomes Christian. And now, here's my one possible critique of J.D. Vance. I think there was like 10,000 people in the room when he said that. But he was answering a question, and I do think, like, when you're asked a question, and I don't think the person who asked him the question was herself Christian, at least my understanding of the story, you answer the question. And so I think sometimes you answer a question in front of 10,000 people, they're going to kind of cheer for your answer, and I think people cheered for his answer. And all of that maybe gave it a slightly unsavory feeling in some people's minds. So this is me just trying to find any possible fault with J.D. Vance in this, because I feel very defensive of him, because despite the fact that he's way more successful than me,
I don't know. Host of Catholic Answers?
It's close. I mean, I do have a really nice hoodie, but I feel a great sympathy for him in this, because I feel like he's handling this exactly how you're supposed to handle it. So the person said, "You are married to a woman who is not Christian. She calls herself Hindu. You are raising 3 kids in interracial culture, racial religious household." I don't even know what that means. That's a lot of racial got in there. I hope that's a misquote. But how are you teaching your kids not to keep your religion ahead of their mother's religion? a young South Asian woman asked Vance. It's really important, by the way, that we always know everyone's identity. Let's make sure we don't have any conversation where we don't put everybody into the proper category.
So
God
whenever-
forbid
so whenever
we
we-
should just talk about it.
We quote you, so Cy Kellett, a white man.
Or sometimes the acceptable term is honky as well. Too. That's also an acceptable term. Or gringo.
And canceled.
What, do you get
In
canceled
two
for saying-
language.
Is that
languages.
is that do you get canceled for saying that?
No, not for gringos. I
Is it
think,
bad?
just- not necessarily. You know what? You know what's really funny? In the circles that I run, you don't really use that word.
Gringo?
Yeah, you don't really say it. I've actually heard that word more from white people than I do from.
Oh, white people calling themselves gringos.
Yes.
Yeah.
Than I do from actual Hispanics calling.
I mean, we don't really have a cool term for white people. It's like Mexicans gave us the one thing we can go, hey, I'm a gringo. Like, at least it sounds like something.
You know,
It doesn't sound like paste.
They would call you Norteamericano.
Yeah, Norteamericano. That makes sense.
North
Yeah.
American.
Yeah. Who would call you that too, though?
That's true.
Okay, so I don't remember where I was. Oh yeah, so the young woman who we have now identified her racially, which God forbid we should have a moment of just treating a human being as a human being. But this is how Vance answered, and it just seems so innocuous to me. Not even innocuous. It seems to me. I'm actually going to go out on a limb here and say it's an elegant answer. I thought he spoke. But again, I have gone through a very similar thing myself, so I have a little bit of sensitivity about this. Yes, my wife did not grow up Christian. I think it's fair to say that she grew up in a Hindu family, but not in a particularly religious family in either direction. All right, so that's his impression of her family. I don't know if that's how his wife, Usha, would define her family, but he's just sharing his impression of her family. This is what Vance said, before stating that the two were both agnostic or atheist when they met. Totally get it, man. I was a Christian, but I was just such a bad, non-performing Christian. I don't know. God wasn't getting anything on his investment in me. He was getting no return on that.
Slow growth.
It was. I was definitely it was worse than bonds. You know what he was getting from me. I was worse than a CD account. Everybody has to come to their own arrangement here. He said, "Okay, let's just stop right there. We're talking about marriage. We're talking about a man and woman who have devoted themselves to each other for their lives, and they have to come to their own arrangement. I don't think you should just glide past that because, as you know, Edgar, because I've told you this before, I believe that every marriage is a privileged and private community that other people do not have. Unless they are let in one way or another, they don't have access to, nor should they think, oh, I know what's going on in that home. I know this or that. You stay out of it because it is for example, you and your wife are married, what, a year and a half, 2 years? How long?
2.5 years.
2.5 years?
Yeah.
All right, but it feels like a year though, right? Because you're having so much fun.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Hi, Lena. Hi, Lena. So
marriage is great. I love it. I don't know.
marriage is great.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Okay, so the two of you, because of your dating life and your years now of living together, you have your own language, and that language will become more unique to you as a couple as time goes on.
Yep.
So that you have a shorthand, you have lots of, like sometimes I will say things to my wife in the presence of my children, and they'll say, "What are you two talking about?" And you have to go, "Oh, well, she knows what I'm saying because this, and this." And then, so that's the sign of a community. A community is, as I learned at Boston College, a community is shared meaning. When I mean the same thing by a gesture or a look or that you mean, then we are sharing in a community. And this is a privileged, private community that has its own language. So, like, could J.D. Vance say to his wife, Usha, things that he could never say publicly he could never say to his children, that he could never say publicly as vice president or never write in a book? You would think, yes, that's how intimate and private that community is. It has its own rules. Now, it's not to say that those rules are disconnected from God's rules or society's rules, but it's still its own rules and its own language. So to me, this is the most important thing that he said. Everybody has to come to their own arrangement. the way that we've come to our arrangement, okay, this is not a person who is imposing anything on anybody. This is a person who's revealing something that you actually have no right to know. It's their private arrangement within their marriage, and it has none of your business. So as soon as somebody is revealing something to me that's none of my business, I try to back off on the judgment a bit, because this is a self-revelation. Like, maybe take a beat and let the person reveal themselves to you. So everybody has to come to their own arrangement. The way that we've come to our arrangement, okay, I have no right to know this, but he's sharing it, is she's my best friend. All right, we already know.
Don't go there.
Okay,
Don't go there. Don't
I
go
was
there.
just going to, Edgar was telling me about somebody who said, you should never say your wife is your best friend. And I don't even know who it is.
That's for a topic for
but we'll talk about it
day.
another day.
That's a different day.
But I do think it's okay to talk. But she's my best friend, and we talk to each other about this stuff. Oh, no, that's so harmful and horrible. So we decided to raise our kids Christian. I'm assuming, he became a Catholic. When you're Catholic and you're married, you are instructed, you're told, you're commanded, so to speak, to do your best to raise those children in the faith. And so you're supposed to talk to my wife knew that when we got married. She knew that. She knew she's not a Christian, she's not a Catholic, she's not a believer, but she knows this about the children. And of course, there's going to be a million times that you're going to have to work that out again over the course of your relationship. And this is why I think, personally, having lived in a marriage that was an it's not even an interfaith marriage. I mean, what we call a disparity of rite, a disparity of ritual. Like, we believe different things. It makes your life harder. I'm going to tell you right now, anybody who tells you that doesn't make your life harder is lying to you. I'm not trying to talk anybody out of marriage, not trying to talk anybody into marriage with anybody in particular. It makes your life harder. So if you said to me, if you had to do it over again, would you do it over again? In a minute, I would do it over again. Did I know how hard it was going to be? Did I fully consider how difficult it's going to be? No, I did not. And I could have saved everybody a lot of frustration if I had. But you're supposed to raise your kids Christian if you're a Catholic. And that's the way we have come to our arrangement. Now, J.D. Vance, thank you for that window onto your arrangement into a community in which I have no say, in which I am not a voter. I'm not a voter in your marriage. Thank you for sharing that. That's, whether I approve or disapprove, none of it is my business. It's your marriage. And I think that's why I say I think he spoke eloquently here. Okay, now it says, the crowd erupted with applause. Okay, that's a problem. It's not a problem because of J.D. Vance. It's just a problem because of how people feel. They feel like this is a pep rally statement now, instead of what it is a rather elegant revelation of something that nobody has a right to know, but he was asked a question and he chose to reveal himself. You just got to talk to that person. You just got to talk to the person that God has put you with. Yeah, amen to that. Most Sundays, Usha will come with me to church. As I've told her, and I've said publicly, and I'll say it now in front of 10,000 of my closest friends, do I hope eventually that she is somehow moved by the same thing that I was moved by in the church. Again, this is an elegant way of speaking. It's not, do I wish that she would do what I tell her? Do I wish that she would just, give up her beliefs and choose my beliefs for the sake of peace in our marriage? He's not saying that. He's saying, do I want her to be moved by the same thing that moved me? Like, if I see a movie that just blows my mind, like it's a great Dracula movie or something, okay, and I think this is beautiful work of art, I do tell my wife about that, and I do hope she'll see it, and I do hope she will find the beauty in it that I found in it. What was the Nicolas Cage one? That's the one that I had in my mind.
Which one?
The Dracula, the one where Nicolas Cage is Dracula?
Oh, Nostafaro, is it?
No,
No, that's a different one.
Renfield, I think.
Renfield, yeah.
Renfield. I'm just going to admit, I love the movie Renfield. I love it because Renfield is a codependent, and it's just such a great depiction of codependency. But anyway, I digress. So he's saying he wants his wife to be moved by did he say he wants to be the boss man of her? Did he say he wants to be the big white Christian savior saving the brown people? No, that's what other people took from this. All right. What he said is, I do wish she would be moved by the same thing I'm moved by. Yeah, I do wish that, he said, because I believe in the Christian gospel and I hope eventually my wife comes to see it that way. I have to say, I lived years of my life with the same hope. And my wife said to me, she ain't coming in unless she believes it. Like that, she wasn't saying, don't try to talk me into it. She wasn't saying, I don't want to talk about this. She's saying, I'm not coming in for any reason short of, I believe it. Now, again, here I'm revealing that you have no right to that information, but that's what happened in my marriage. Okay, let's get our first quote. This is the New Republic then. Okay, by the way, I tried to find the worst article on this. It wasn't easy, but the New Republic won. Okay, congratulations, New Republic. You are the lowest creatures that I could find for this. This is the first quote they have. After this, J.D. Vance, no mention of race, no mention of wanting to be the spiritual head of his household. No, none of this dominance or any of that stuff coming in. Just him saying, I was moved by something. I would love this woman that I love to be moved by it. Watch as Vance denies his wife's religious identity as Hindu. Instead, he labels her as currently without a religion and a future Christian. Did you hear that? Did you hear him say that? South Asian history professor Dr. Audrey Truschke wrote on X, folks, believe the far right when they say Christian is the only legitimate religious identity. They mean it. Okay, I'll believe them when they say that. They didn't say that. Like, what? You're telling me to believe my ears. That's what you're saying, Dr. Audrey. You're saying believe what I hear. I didn't hear that, though, and neither did you. So, Dr. Audrey, let me just turn that back around on you. When a man says he loves and respects his wife, and he hopes that she comes to value what he values because of the experience that he's had, you should believe him. I'm just going to throw that back at you that way. We'll see how that sits with you, Dr. Audrey. Or maybe I'm supposed to say Dr. Truschka, but I wasn't as confident in the pronunciation, so I apologize if I seemed dismissive of you and your dumb comment. Sorry, and your comment. This is somebody else. When J.D. Vance hit, this is what the New Republic is doing, just a bunch of negative comments to show what a jerk J.D. Vance is. When J.D. Vance had hit his lowest, it was his, I don't know why it's in quotes, Hindu wife. Why are we putting Hindu when, maybe this was a tweet, maybe that's how the person wrote it. Wife and her Hindu upbringing that had helped him navigate through the tough times. How beautiful. I'm so glad to hear the Indian author Monica Verma wrote. Oh, so it was right. For some reason, she thought Hindu needed quotes around it. Today, in a position of power, her religion has become a liability. What a fall. What an epic fall for this man. I think she might have meant fail, but whatever. Wait a second. Where did he say her religion was a liability? Where did he say that? He said he had an experience and he hoped she would have that experience.
There's a lot of projection going on here.
Would you say that's what it is, projection? Yeah. I don't know. It's like, for the record, Usha Vance has described her Hindu upbringing as something that helped make her parents good people. And this is the New Republic put good people in quotes, I guess because it's a direct quote of Usha Vance. Really? Hinduism helps people be good people? This is news, New Republic? Like, we've had thousands of years of Hindu religion. Yes, it produces lots of good people. That has nothing to do with what J.D. Vance said. I did grow up in a religious household. My parents are Hindu, and this might be Usha Vance. And I think that was one of the things that made them such good parents, that made them really very good people, she said in an interview with Fox last year. That's cool. Huh?
Crickets?
Like, what's the point we're making here? People practice an ancient religion and philosophy, profound philosophy from Hinduism, and that makes them better people. Was J.D. Vance saying that's not the case? When you convert to Catholicism, it comes with several important obligations, like to raise your child in the faith and all that, she said in a more, this is her. This is still Usha Vance. We had a lot of real conversations about how to do that. The theme I'm getting is that these two talk to each other like grown-up adults. When I'm not Catholic and I'm not intending to convert or anything like that, the kids know that I'm not Catholic, and they have plenty of access to the Hindu tradition, from the books that we give them, to things that we show them, to the recent trip to India, and some of the religious elements of that visit. Okay, this arrangement does not sound like a compromise, especially what this is. This is the commentary that follows what sounds like Usha Vance being an adult, J.D. Vance being an adult, and them conversing about things they disagree with. Okay, this arrangement, in quotes again, but this time it's sneer quotes, does not sound like a compromise, especially when Usha, well, who said they were supposed to compromise on these things? Anyways, it doesn't sound like it's not a compromise to me, but this is your value that got thrown in this. Doesn't, especially when Usha's husband is proudly proclaiming that he hopes she'll abandon the religion she grew up with. Okay. Put the best face on that one, are we the New Republic? Vance also faced questions by the same woman about his vehemently anti-immigrant policies and rhetoric. Okay, here we go. Now that's what they really want to get at is J.D. Vance is a jerk. And if you want to argue J.D. Vance is a jerk, I don't know J.D. Vance. Maybe he is a jerk. I probably wouldn't read your article because I just don't like articles about people calling other people jerks. But that's not what you wrote an article about. You wrote an article about the conversations and the hopes that he has with his wife when he revealed that, and then you trashed another person's self-revelation about something that is absolutely none of your business. I want to go back to the beginning, and then I'll stop and we can chat about this if you want. This is the opening line of the New Republic article. I just want to give you, ladies and gentlemen, American journalism. This is the opening. I'm not making this up. This, word for word, what I'm about to read is the opening line that these adults, apparent adults, came up with. Vice President J.D. Vance appears to think that his wife is going to hell.
You really got to read it into that.
Did you get that from what J.D. said?
No.
Did you get that? Excuse me, what Vice President Vance said? Like, what? He appears to think that, does he? What appears in what sense? Like, let's define the word appears. Because that seems like... I don't want to say that American journalism is about making things up, but I'm not going to not say, like, that's just silly. These are children. These are children dealing with adult problems. I mean, it is hard to be in I can't even call mine a mixed faith relationship. It was a person with no faith and a person who kind of inconveniently for his wife. In my case, I rediscovered my Catholic faith after we're married and started to become really hardcore about it. You think that was easy on her? No, that was not easy on her. J.D. Vance, I actually don't know the story if he became Catholic before or after they were married, or if I did know that, I missed that point. But it sounds to me like he became Catholic after they were married. And that's not easy, all right? But he's telling you about what they did, and it seems to me he did just fine. I thought his expression of it was actually elegant. I would say when my wife was not a Christian and I had come fully back into the Catholic Church, did I hope that she would become Christian? Well, I'm going to start with the macro on that one. At that time, this was my feeling. Because I had rediscovered my Catholic faith, I hope I don't get canceled for this, Edgar, but I actually hoped that everyone would become Christian. That was
I can't believe it.
Yeah,
Canceled.
Everyone, every single human being.
Canceled.
Yeah, because Jesus Christ is God. So I thought, you know what? It would be nice if everybody knew that God, in his love for them, had come to be a man, had lived, suffered, and died for them, and now was risen from the dead and offering them eternal life. I thought, at the time, I was young, so I went crazy and I believed it would be good if everyone knew Jesus. Of course I wanted my wife to come to Christ. Of course I did. And it's perfectly natural for J.D. Vance to want that. And it's got nothing to do with hating Asia Pacific people or something like that. I saw so many stupid comments, Edgar. So many stupid comments. Quite a few of them in the National Catholic Reporter, by the way. But I didn't want to do National Catholic Reporter. They had a really bad article. But New Republic, I thought, was safer.
Okay.
And worse.
All About Hugs says they won the award that nobody wanted.
Who wanted the award that nobody wanted?
No, they won the award.
Oh, the New Republic won the award. Yes,
yeah, LOL, the award you don't want to win.
They don't care what I think. All About Hugs. They don't care.
Can I tell you something? Say what really blows my mind is that they're making J.D. Vance look like an absolute lunatic by wanting
Yeah.
the one thing that all of us are commissioned to do, which is go make disciples of all nations.
Right.
Like it almost seems like it's Like it's almost a mortal sin from the secular perspective of wanting to convert people from other faiths when that's exactly what all of us are called to do.
Well, it's not like the Bible told us to live in such a way that we might make Christians of our spouses, is it? You're not saying that that's in the Bible.
I don't
that
know.
we should
Sai,
live
you
that-
tell me. Is it in the Bible that we should try to make?
I had it here, but I've lost it. Of course, yeah. The first letter to the Corinthians, Paul. I lost the.
I opened it up for you.
Oh, you did?
Chapter 7, verse. I don't
Chapter
know.
7. All right, let me just read you what St. Paul says about it. All right. And you know what? You were making a point while I find this. You were making a point that, look, at least the way I was understanding the point you were making is secularism is a religion. And it doesn't like the Christian religion because secularism says everybody must be secular. And Christianity says it'd be better if everybody was Christian. And they don't
How
like it.
dare you say that?
And they don't like the fact that you point out to them, well, you think everyone should be secular. And you think that all public utterances of a vice president should avoid the mention of the fact that he loves Jesus Christ or whatever. And you think we're the bossy ones.
Yeah. You know, apart from the fact that Matthew 28:19 tells us to go and make disciples of all nations, I think the vice president's right here. I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting your spouse to. I mean, if who was the comedian? If you really do believe that Jesus Christ is Lord, that He came to bring salvation, wouldn't it be almost hateful to say, I'm not going to share that with you? Sorry,
Yeah.
there's salvation here, but you know what? I'm just not going to share it with you.
That's what Steve Dawson was saying to me about evangelization. He goes, if we had a scientist who found the cure for cancer, and he was like, I'm going to keep it to myself, we wouldn't say that person is mediocre. We'd say that person is evil.
Yeah.
So if you have the gospel of Jesus Christ and you go, I'm going to keep it to myself, he goes, are you being mediocre or is it worse than that? All right, this is what St. Paul says, 7th chapter of the first letter to the Corinthians. If any brother has a wife who is an unbeliever and she consents to live with him, he should not divorce her. So far, JD, I'm sorry to keep calling the vice president JD. I apologize.
You're on a first name basis with
I
him.
am because we've been through the same thing. All right, we've been in the trenches together.
That's right. By the way, Samuel, yes, this is the fancy new Ignatius Catholic Study Bible.
Yeah. Yep. Ignatius Catholic Study Bible. If any woman who has a husband is an unbeliever and he consents to live with her, she should not divorce him. For the unbelieving husband is consecrated through his wife, and the unbelieving wife is consecrated through her husband. Otherwise, your children would be unclean, but as it is, they are holy. But if the unbelieving partners desire to separate, let it be so. In such a case, the brothers or sisters, if the brother or sister is not bound. There's more that I wanted to get to this, but that's enough. I mean, it's like, look, in the Roman Empire, do you think they didn't have this problem? This was probably the predominant problem among the laity at a certain point in the history of the church. And the problem is, can I stay with my spouse that I love if they're not Christian? And what should I do? And what you should do is humbly serve that person, humbly share the truth with them when it's appropriate. I will say, and I wonder if years from now, J.D. Vance will say what I can say right now. He's earlier in his marriage than I am. I kind of wish I had done a better job. I wish I had listened to my wife more. I wish I had respected her feelings. I wish I had not had anxiety. It doesn't sound to me like he sounds more mature than I was. He doesn't sound like he has anxiety about it, but I had anxiety about that I was supposed to, have some outcome for my wife. And I think that got in the way of our marriage. It got in the way of me treating her with the respect that she deserved to be treated. And anyway, none of my anxiety did any good. It only made things worse. It was Jesus that let Jesus do his work. You love your spouse. You be patient with your spouse. Just let Jesus do his work. You be faithful to God. And that sounds like what J.D. Vance is doing.
Just be a witness.
Yeah. Be a witness, not a worrier. Be a witness, not a controller.
Yeah.
You're not in good. And I like that he didn't seem to be saying this, that he wanted to he doesn't seem like a control freak when it comes to his wife. He seems to genuinely respect her, thinks she's smart, and she has free will. His job is to be a Christian.
So let me ask you, Si, if you would have been more forceful in bringing the faith to your wife, you think it would have happened quicker, or do you think it would have slowed that process down?
I think she'd be my ex-wife. Oh, gosh. I mean, I think at a certain point she wouldn't have put up with it. You can't just be a jerk to the other person, and you certainly can't be a jerk to the point where they go, oh my gosh, you've been such a jerk. I want to be Catholic.
Well, that's the whole thing of evangelization. a lot of times people feel like you have to be a jerk and you have to be forceful in order to try to get people to convert, and you just push them away. And it's not just with the spouse; it's just with anybody. If you come up to somebody and says, "Hey, you need," and say, "Yeah, you need to be Catholic, and these are the reasons why," and if not, you're going to hell. You're condemned to hell. You're a heretic. They're not going to say, "Gosh, thank you, thank you for telling me."
Well,
I'll be
Edgar,
Catholic
I would
now."
say maybe 1 in a million would say yes, thank you. You never know which presentation of the gospel is going to work because it's all in the Holy Spirit's hand. But if you had to bet, I'd say that's not the likely one. Like, come on. I would say to people who that are in the situation that I was in, and this includes the vice president, he doesn't seem like he needs any advice from me, but I would just say, trust Jesus. It's all going to be fine. Trust Jesus. The deeper you go into treating that person not as somebody that you're supposed to get, but treating them as if they themselves are the person of Jesus Christ, defend them like you would defend Christ, be present to them like you would be present to Christ, I think then you're in better shape. You do better than I did. That's what I would say. If you did it that way, you'd be doing better than I did. I don't know. I don't want to be a trillionaire, though. I'm not one of those people who wants to be a trillionaire. Should we talk about Mary? Because people want to talk about Mary. Is there anybody online who wants to talk about Mary?
All right, who wants to bring up something about Mary? You got to pause it because I can hear that. Or mute it.
Yeah, I muted it.
Do we want to talk about Mary? Chat, you can decide. Mary or no?
We're
Mary?
letting them decide?
Well, we're gonna look. It's the topic that everybody's talking about in the Catholic world. We could talk about it or not, but for now, while they decide, we can talk about the $1 trillion that
Elon Musk wants.
Elon Musk wants.
Mater Populi Fidelius. That's the letter that came out today from the Vatican on Mary. But we don't have to talk about it. If you vote, if you want to talk about Mary. In the meantime,
let's talk about
Elon Musk wants $1 trillion
from Tesla. If he gets their value to $8 trillion, was that the?
Okay, I'm not going to get the numbers right, but it seemed to me like what I read was something like, okay, here's Tesla's value today, which is like 1.4 trillion. And that's an amazing valuation for a company that essentially had no value when Elon Musk took it over. Okay, so now it's worth 1.4 trillion. And I think what he said is like if it gets to 8.9 trillion or something, like just short of 9 trillion in the next 10 years, they got to give him $1 trillion worth of stock. So this is his incentive. This is his performance incentive.
How can you fathom having $1 trillion? I don't comprehend. We had a little exercise with Darren earlier. Do you want to go through that?
Yeah.
I pulled it up, and I actually got more precise numbers. So if you received $1 per second, let's start smaller. To get $100,000, you would reach that in 1.16 days. So
okay, you get if you 100,000 $1 every second, it takes me 1.616 days.
Yes.
To have $100,000.
Yes.
All right, let's start. Go. I need $100,000 so bad, dude. I want to do this. Get your dollars out.
All right.
If you start giving me $1 now,
I don't think we have
by
that
tomorrow, a little after this time, by the commute home tomorrow, I will have $100,000.
Yep.
Dude, I need $100,000.
So do I.
All right, go ahead.
All right. Now to reach $1 million, it would take you 11 and a half days.
11 and a half days to
reach
that
$1
makes
million.
sense. It is 10 times longer.
Yep.
Okay.
So 11 days. So 11 and a half days. 12 days. Let's round up. 12 days.
All right. So in 12 days, I got $1 million. Even if we take bathroom breaks, I still safely have $1 million.
$1 every second. If somebody were to give you $1 every second. All right.
In 11 or 12 days, I've got $1 million.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. This is a massive jump. Now to get to 1 billion,
it's going to take 100 days, at least 100 days.
It's going to take 31.7 years.
Ha! What?
31.7 years. That's a massive jump from 11 days to 31.7 years.
To get from $1 million to $1 billion, is 11 days to
31.7 years.
31.7 years. I can't wait, Edgar. I'm not going to be here in 31.7 years. Do you think I'm going to make it 31.7? Look at me, Edgar. I'll take the 100,000. Let's go.
In about 31 years, I'll be looking like you.
You're not even. No, you look. You're not gonna look that.
All
bad.
About Hugs just give us a super chat, $2. Says, give this man some dollars. He.
Oh, what's up? What's up?
All About Hugs really likes you.
All About Hugs. I like you too.
All right, so that's $1 billion, all right? 31.7 years.
Right.
Round up. 32 years, you'll get $1 billion. Now,
Yes.
1 trillion.
320 years.
You ready for this? It'll take you 31,700 years to get $1 trillion.
No, it won't.
31.
I'm not going to make it to 31 years. I'm not going to make. Oh my gosh, think about that. How much $1 trillion is. And Elon Musk, if they don't give it to him, he's still going to be like the world's first trillionaire.
I mean,
he's getting $1 trillion
Yeah.
one way or another, but he wants that as a performance incentive. And
I'd be happy with $1 billion.
I told you I need 100,000. That's all I need, and then I'm happy. Then I will be happy for the rest of my life. Just sitting in my house going.
With $100,000, you live in San Diego. That barely covers your mortgage here.
We bought our house almost 30 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
$162,000. I thought it was the most money any human being had ever paid for anything. It seemed like an insane amount
In
of money.
San Diego.
In San Diego, yeah.
It's that sandcastle in La Jolla, right? That's yours?
967 square feet, my house.
How many?
967 square feet. Elon Musk probably has bathrooms bigger than that. But he needs it, though. I mean, God bless him.
Oh, yes,
I
yes,
don't-
of course.
I'm not saying anything
To get us
negative.
to Mars, he's going to need it.
You know, is there a logic to what Elon Musk is saying? If someone said to you, I can make you $7.5 trillion over the next 10 years in valuation, that's the increase.
Mm-hmm.
If I can make you 7.5 trillion, you got to give me $1 trillion. You'd go, yeah, all right. But that's not exactly how it's because Tesla, even if it lost him today, is going to make some money over the next 10 years. So it's unlikely that you could attribute that full 7.5 trillion to him. So it's not like somebody's going to trade you 7.5 trillion for $1 trillion. But you can see that there's a kind of logic to it because he's a genius. He's a manufacturing, marketing genius.
Yep.
And of those two, manufacturing is harder. And I don't think people give him enough credit that he figured out how to manufacture things that other people did not figure out how to, like rocket ships and electric cars.
And rocket ships landing.
And things that dig holes in the ground. And yeah, rocket ships landing. And many other things that, like, I'm not quibbling with his talent, but you can't.
$1 trillion.
Look, here's what I ultimately think. Jesus didn't say, don't serve money. He just said, you can't serve two masters, God and mammon. And at some point, you have to choose because Jesus wasn't forcing you into anything. He's describing reality. He's God and he's describing reality. You cannot serve God and mammon. You can't do it. He's telling, like, it's like saying you cannot jump high enough to leave the Earth's orbit. I mean, to leave the surface of the Earth, to go into orbit. You can't do it. That's not him telling you don't do it or don't. He's describing reality to you. And so if you won't accept that description, you're in big trouble. And at a certain point, if you're, again, I'm not arguing with the logic of the math or anything like that, or even with the value of the man. But I would say all of us, when we see these kind of extraordinary numbers, need to say, I mean, I hate to say it, but do I want to go to hell? Because I can't serve God and mammon. I cannot do both. And
That amount of money will corrupt a soul.
any amount of money can, $5 can
Yeah.
corrupt a soul.
Yeah.
You know, like there's people who will do horrible things for $5.
Yep.
You know, so it's not the amount, it's the attention. It's the where is the desire? And if God Himself tells you, look, I'm just going to lay it out for you. You can't do it. You can't serve God and mammon. Now, serving God means you'll have the fullness of life and eternal life. At this moment, when he's saying this, he doesn't describe what serving mammon will do to you, But what I think you're saying is right. Serving mammon will eat your soul. It will destroy your soul. And you go, well, Elon Musk produces so much for the world and he does so. I'm not arguing that. That's exactly right. He's worth a lot of money to people who have a lot of money. The man wants to get paid, blah, 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 all that. That's not ultimately the thing we should do when we hear about those sums of money is think about you cannot serve God and mammon. And really, if you're talking about $1 trillion, you're not serving mammon a bit. And the other thing I think you have to think about is Lazarus and the rich man. That was it the Bible? Which book of the Bible is it that says, "With great power comes great responsibility"?
I think that's the first book of
Parker?
Parker.
First Peter Parker,
First Peter Parker.
or first Benjamin. Yeah, I think we Christians often, especially here in the United States, where we have this kind of Protestant work ethic thing, man, you better listen to Jesus on this stuff because he's not going to go, hey, I didn't tell you, I didn't warn you when he sees you on the other side. He's not going to say that. He did tell you. He did warn you. You preferred to listen to some preacher who told you what Jesus said isn't true or tried to twist Jesus's words. You can't serve God and mammon. That's a really basic thing. The story of Lazarus and the rich man. Are people hungry? Well, I don't feel any resentment towards, what's his name, Elon Musk having, let's just say he has 300 billion right now. Okay, he's got 300 billion. People are literally starving to death. That doesn't look to me kind of like Lazarus and the rich man. That looks exactly like Lazarus and the rich man. You go, well, he's helping the poor by building up the economy. All of that I agree with. That was not what Jesus was talking about. Jesus was talking about one guy's eating a lot and the other guy's got nothing. Well, the other guy doesn't want to work. The other guy doesn't. Jesus wasn't talking about any of that. One guy was hungry. The other guy was not hungry. That's what Jesus was talking about. You want to listen to all these preachers who want to tell you all the different ways that your religion fits perfectly with the capitalist ethos. Go ahead and listen to them. But I would tell you, you'd be better off listening to Jesus. And Jesus had a problem with this. He had a problem with this. He didn't say, well, he didn't get into an analysis of, well, Lazarus, he had his opportunities. This is a land of opportunity. And, it's a land flowing with milk and honey. Why didn't he get up and get himself? Okay. You could say all of that, but you better not say it to Jesus' face when he sees you because he told you what the standard was. He told you what the standard was. And all this American love of money, it does not meet the standard that Jesus set for us. It just simply doesn't meet the standard that Jesus set for us.
All About Hug says if he pledged to donate all but X amount or use X amount for charity, I'd feel differently.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's not about my feelings, though. I have no feel. I actually don't feel like I have very many feelings about Elon Musk at all. I feel like Jesus said something. I believe it. We better proclaim it. And one of the things he said is, you cannot serve God and mammon. So all these people who tell you, yeah, you can. You know what? That's what market-based economy is all. I believe in the market. I mean, the market, at least the market as we understand it now, was invented in Christian Europe. I'm not saying that the market is a bad place. I'm saying you cannot serve God and mammon, you personally. And I would say if Elon Musk if I were in a conversation with him about his money, I honestly think I would say it to him. Not because I have any feelings about it. Like when I see people flying out of this airport over here on their private jets, I always think that looks like fun. Like I don't care if you fly around in your private jet. It does look like fun. I don't care. I'm just telling you, if you are serving mammon, you are not on the path to eternal life. That's so. I didn't say it. Jesus said it.
Let me ask you, what do you think? Is it possible to have that amount of money or large sums of money and still serve God and not serve mammon?
King Louis of France, probably the richest man in Europe at the time. He's a saint.
Yeah.
He's a saint. All right.
A lot of royalty were
San
saints.
Luis Rey. A lot of royalty were saints. The gospel doesn't say you have to be poor to be saved. The gospel says you can't serve God and mammon. And it's pretty hard for me to see how some of these things that we endorse and that we celebrate are not, in fact, serving mammon. I mean, I suppose I mean, as a matter of fact, I'm sure there are other arguments. I do believe in freedom. I believe in people starting their own businesses. And my goodness, Elon Musk seems so brilliant and talented and wonderful in so many ways, like truly a wonder. He reminds you of the great, I don't know, there have always been these great business leaders. Some of them were thieves like Thomas Edison. Some of them were just wonderful, good people, like Flagler. I don't know too much about Flagler, but Flagler that built Standard Oil with Nelson Rockefeller, also did a lot of great things. He seems like an honest, good person. You can't tell if a person's good or bad by the money they have, but you can tell when it's starting to look like we as a society and people asking for $1 trillion are looking like we're serving mammon. And we're doing a lot of serving mammon. And I'm not telling you how to feel about it. I'm telling you this is what God said. You can't do it. You can't serve God and mammon. You have to choose. It's a very basic choice. You have to choose. And I really do need $100,000.
You're talking to the wrong person, man. Let's go through some of the comments. Give a couple of shout outs to our friends. A few people in here that I actually haven't seen before. Dylan, welcome to the chat.
Hi, Dylan.
Shell Backbow, that's another one. Welcome to the show. Mrs. Y, Xenia's been there. Our good friend Big Stack, welcome. And then I have to shout out our friends over on Twitch. We have good old Shawnovision there. And
Shawnovision's been around before though.
Yeah, and then we have Frizzy112. And all they do is throw emojis on there. Or still not sure how Twitch works.
So that was all Twitch.
The last two were Twitch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, although the rest of the people were on YouTube.
I'm getting onto the YouTubes right now to see if I went on YouTube and Deutero Comical came up where he did that awful interview with me. He's one of the worst people.
Are you still hurt by that?
Everyone should stay away from Deutero Comical. He's one of the worst people on the internet. A horror of a person.
People are talking about Mary in the chat right now. Just
all right. Oh, did they want to
yeah,
cover Mary or not?
I think so. We can jump into Mary.
Oh, can I please read the Reuters article? I just
on Mary.
On Mary. I loved how Reuters did it. All right, but you got to give me a second. Talk about our sponsor, Pure Iced Tea.
Pure.
I don't have it, but talk about our sponsor. Try to get us a sponsor.
All right.
Work on that while
wait, is it Pure Leaf or what?
Pure Leaf.
Is it Pure
Iced
Leaf?
Tea, no, unsweetened iced tea.
Pure Leaf. If you are listening, we want your
love
sponsor because Sai only drinks that after he swore off another fizzy diet beverage that we will not be naming because we don't want their sponsorship anymore. But contact us. Darren will get your information and we'll get your money. I mean, we'll receive your
Pure Leaf iced tea. I don't want mammon. I just want free tea.
Free dirty water. That's all you want.
He calls it dirty water. I love your product. I will never say anything bad about it on the air.
What are they doing? They have hot water and they throw a bunch of leaves in it. Dry leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
dirty
called
water.
tea.
It's dirty water.
That's what built civilization. Here's the Reuters article that I woke up to this morning. The headline just kills me.
Let's hear it.
Jesus, not Virgin Mary, saved the world, Vatican says. That's funny.
Man, like breaking news. Do Catholics know this?
Vatican's been saying that since there have been Vatican Reuters, but yeah, that was the headline. But it is kind of true. I mean, I'm not saying they got their headline wrong. It's just, it's like
they're about 2,000 years too late.
It just seems like they're taking something that was a reiteration and treating it as if it was the iteration. And the iteration of this is 2,000 years old. Like we've done. Jesus may have heard words of wisdom from his mother, but she did not help him save the world from damnation, the Vatican said on Tuesday. By the way, that is not what the Vatican said, but it's close. It's with one word off, or two words off, but it's not what the Vatican said.
How many times do we have to repeat that we do not believe Mary is God?
Well, apparently just once for Reuters. We just need to say it once, and they will treat it as news. In a new decree approved by Pope Leo, the Vatican's top doctrinal office instructed the world's 1.4 billion Catholics not to refer to Mary as co-redeemer of the world. Now, that is actually news because there is a subtle thing that I think really has caused divisions or ruptures or it's not divisions or ruptures. It's actually opportunities for misunderstanding between us and Protestants. And Protestants tend to be not as pro-Mary as we are. So, as we Catholics are. And so the idea that we would say co-redemptrix or co-redeemer, that, first of all, is not really the traditional language of the church. It's been used since the 1500s, but sparingly. It has never been the predominant language of the church. And in the modern context, it's been explained that what that means is essentially the same thing as you and I being, in essence, at its essential level, it's the same thing as saying you and I are co-redeemers with Christ, in the sense that if I come to Edgar, let's pretend like you're an uncontacted tribesman from the Hebrides, okay?
Booga booga.
They don't say booga booga in the Hebrides. That's Scotland.
Oh, my bad.
I don't think they say it anywhere, but
Yeah.
they would say it with a little flourish if it was Scottish.
It was in Crash Bandicoot. That's all I know.
Crash Bandicoot
Yeah.
said that?
Booga
Okay, so I come to you and I go, hey, I want to tell you about God has come to the earth. I am redeeming you. I'm working with the Lord for your redemption. And Jesus himself commanded us to do this. He didn't say, I've made disciples of the world. He said, go make disciples.
Again, getting back to the J.D. Vance thing, bringing
Yeah.
it full circle.
Yeah.
Go and make disciples.
But still, if you call me co-redeemer with Jesus Christ, that needs a lot of explanation. Like, that's not exactly I don't do any of the saving in this. I assist in delivering the saving. So Mary
you're
is
assistant to the Redeemer.
Well, that's true, yes. But Mary, even in a more exalted, in a way that is essentially the same as that is to say, she is infinitely lower than Christ in her nature, just as I am. But it's essentially the same, but is somewhat different because she's the mother of God. She's the mother of Jesus, who is God. That has literally brought salvation. Jesus is our salvation. She brought salvation into the world. But you have to explain it so much when you say it. If you say co-redeemer, because the Protestants like, there's only one Redeemer, Jesus. There's only one Savior, Jesus. We're not saying we disagree with that. We're just saying that God gives us all something to do in his salvific work.
Isn't that what the Vatican is basically saying? It's like it just
that's
creates a lot more confusion, and in order to explain it, and it kind of, I don't want to say that it'll potentially get in the way of evangelization, but it
ain't helping.
That's what they're saying.
It would be inappropriate to use the title co-redemptrix, said the text. This can create confusion and an imbalance in the harmony of the truths of the Christian faith. That's very well said, actually. That's a beautiful way of expressing that, because an imbalance in the harmony, that is to say, Christ, Redeemer, God and man of infinite value, is his little finger is worth more than the whole universe. So to try to take Mary and go, yeah, kind of the same, that creates an imbalance that brings him down or brings her up, one or the other, in a way that is not appropriate. It doesn't reflect the proper balanced understanding of his value is infinitely more than her value. So you got to be careful. Even though something is technically true, doesn't mean you should go around saying it all the time.
There are people out there that are looking for another dogma to be proclaimed. I know when I was in college, there's a professor who was a big advocate for the titles of co-redemptrix and mediatrix of all graces. And
I think this brings that conversation to an end.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't bring conversation to an end. People can say what they want, but I think it to anybody who wants to be docile to the teaching of the Holy See,
at least for now,
you got to go, this is over.
It's basically,
for my lifetime, this is over.
Yeah,
does this come up in 500 years again? Maybe. Maybe at that time we're in a different place where such precision is not required, but we do need to have precision. We need to, because imprecision endangers souls. It confuses people. It endangers souls. So that none of this is new. It's just a matter of saying some language is prudent to use, some language is imprudent to use. The church has always taught from its first days, Christ is infinitely more than any of us or all of us put together, or all of us and all of our stuff put together. He's infinitely more than Mary. He's infinitely more than Edgar. He's infinitely more than Cy. He's infinitely more. That's always been the teaching of the church. He is a divine person, and we are humans. That there's an infinite distance between us. So that's always been the teaching. I just think sometimes you got to go, yeah, but when you talk this way, it blurs that a little bit. No, but what I mean is this. That's the problem, is when you have to say, no, but what I mean is, that's too much. It's you're putting too much stress on language at that point. We want language to be more clear so that the light of the gospel can come through it. We don't want to muddy it up.
Amen to that. With that, the show within the show, I'll give you my 2 cents now. You know, for the next days, weeks, or maybe even hours, you're going to hear a lot of talking heads out there talking about this document and how scandalous and how this is horrible. And there's a lot of people that are going to give their opinions. Remember, our jobs as Catholics is to trust in the wisdom of the church, in humble obedience, trust that, sometimes it is above our pay grade. And a talking head can give their opinion, just like what we're doing here. We give our opinions, at least for the Super Show. We give our thoughts and our opinions on social issues. But remember that all of this needs to be filtered through our humble obedience in Christ, and our humble obedience that Jesus gave us a church that will not err, because that was the promise that Christ gave when he said that the gates of hell will not prevail against the church. Always remember that. Filter all of our desire to be outraged or anything to that effect through that knowing that Christ is always going to be faithful. I remember this was about 10, 15 years ago. I walked out of Mass one day, and I saw a gentleman who was deeply scandalized by something that was going on at that diocese, especially because of the bishop at the time in that diocese. And he says, man, the bishop is doing this and the bishop is doing that, and the pope is doing this and the pope is doing that. And I remember looking at him, and this was a gentleman who was a few years older than me, maybe about 15, 20 years older than I was. He had his family and everything. And I stopped and I told him, I said, don't you trust that Christ is going to continue to hold his promise? It's like, so why concern yourself and worry when in reality your anger is not going to take you anywhere? And he stopped and he says, thank you. I needed to hear that. So, like I said, if the talking heads are starting to make your blood boil, step away and do what we all have to do at all times. Go pray. Go pray your rosary. Go pray the Liturgy of the Hours. Go to Mass. Receive communion. Go to confession. Always stay close, because it's in those moments that we should put our faith in, not in what the talking heads say. And that's just my 2 cents. Johnny, go to the B-roll.